Hello, TJ Kalen here with Kalen's Crafting Studio, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a metal business card using the Cricut engraving tool. So stay tuned, because here we go. So hopefully you've ordered the engraving tool from Cricut. I already had the housing from my scoring wheel, so I just needed to buy the tip. So I bought this tip, the debossing tip, and I bought the perforation. I did not get the wavy tool yet. Number 41 is the engraving tip. It's a little bit sharper than the debossing tool. So you just pop it onto your housing by pushing the little button at the top, and then you can load it into your machine. The aluminum cards come in a pack of 50 that I found on Amazon, and they came in various different colors. I ordered the blue, hoping it was going to be kind of teal, and it's not too bad because that's sort of my logo colors. It's a little bit bluer than I would prefer. It's definitely, but it's got a teal tint to it, so I'm pleased with the way they turned out. But I also ordered some black because I'm going to try those for a project for somebody else, and they just come in a pack of 50. They're super thin. And what I ended up doing is I ended up using the thin copper setting on the machine, and I'll explain why when I show you on screen. It had to do with my little trick to get them centered on the mats. But you're going to want to use your heavy grip mat for this, and you want a relatively new one that's very sticky. Cricut recommends that you line it with masking tape. I did not do that. These are very thin, so there was really no need. They stuck really well, and I didn't want to waste any space edging around it with tape. I wanted to make sure I was maximizing my space because it's such a small little card. So when you put them down on the mat, they stick really well. Like, it was not moving like a piece of wood or a thicker piece. Oops, see, there was two there. I didn't even have one. But they stick really well, and I've made about 10 of them so far, and not one move. So that's up to you if you want to edge it with masking tape or not. But for this particular project, I really don't think you need to do that. So next we're going to go to the computer screen, and I'll show you how I laid it out, and I'll show you the trick that I used in order to be able to center it on the mat, because you want to be able to get your creation centered on it. I guess you can use Snap Mat on one of the OIS devices. I tried it. I can never get Snap Mat to work, ever. I mean, I think maybe once has it actually ever taken the picture. I don't know what I'm doing wrong with that, but I've tried everything, and it just wasn't working. Plus, some of the fonts that I use aren't necessarily on my phone that I might use on when I set it up on the computer. So for this, I did use my desktop computer, and I'll show you the trick that I use to get around being able to center it. Here is my template for my business card that I laid out. Obviously, you're going to need to create your own, so you want to start with a blank canvas in Design Space, and you want to start out by searching in the images for a rounded square, and I chose this one. There's one here too. That's a little too rounded, so I like this one better. Rounded Square Page, it's called. It's part of the Access subscription. And put Insert Image. And I have my screen blown up to 150%, so it's a little big. So I'm going to bring this sizes down and bring it up to the top here so we can see side by side. Then you want to change this to score. And I'll explain later. We're not actually going to score it, but this is just a guide to get it centered onto your metal business card. And then you want to unlock the proportions, and you want to set the size of it. The business card is 3 3/8 by 2 1/8. So that breaks down in decimal to 3.38 and 2.13. 2.13. There we go. That didn't take it. Sorry, I forgot to hit my enter key. 2.13, enter. There we go. So you can see now. There we go. Now you might have a logo. I use some social media logos, which I had already uploaded in here. We'll just put one of these in here for now. And what you need to make sure you do on everything that's in the center is you want to change your line type to engrave. and it'll show you what it looks like, and then you can size it down and you can start playing with it to design your particular logo. Let's see, I'll just go ahead and add some text in here too. Let's just add my name. I'm going to bring it down in size. Again, I want to change the line type to engrave. Oops. I'm going to drag it up. And I like to use center horizontal, so in order to do that you want to select everything here and you want to say align and then center horizontal, and that will center it on the card. Let's just add one more line of text. Okay, bring this down. Put this up in here. Then you change the line type again to engrave. Let's center it. Align, center, horizontally. And then you want to make sure that you attach everything. So you would go down, select all by dragging your mouse over top of it and then clicking attach. And that will now allow everything to be attached. So I'm just going to turn this off for right now to show you why I have that box there. Oops, turned off the wrong one. We're going to turn off this one up here. When you send this to the mat, if I did not have the box around it, we'll just turn that off so I'll show you what happens if I don't have it. When I hit make it, now I choose to put my business cards at the 1 inch by 1 inch section, sector, I guess you would call intersection. And it's just, it would just help me be able to lay these out. I try to use Snap Mat and it just does not work for me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I cannot get Snap Mat to take a picture of the mat. I don't know. I hold the phone steady. I try it on the ground. I've tried a very solid background, a white background with my mats. I've tried it on a dark wood floor. I can never get it to work. So I was a little frustrated because I thought that might be the answer, to be able to line these up the way I wanted them. But then this is how I came up with this sort of little trick, and it worked well. Now, let's cancel it and then let's turn that back on. We'll turn that box back on, which is attached as well. And we click make it. Now the box is there as a guide, and I can line this up exactly where I know that I have the metal business card on my mat. Now, the cards that I got on Amazon do not say what kind of metal it is. I assume it's a very thin aluminum, and if you choose aluminum, it doesn't let you score on aluminum because the machine knows, the software knows by using the engraving tool what surfaces you can engrave on. Therefore, I thought, well, let me do a test and see what all my choices are. This is running a little bit slow here. So you have to click on Browse All Materials. You'll see over here it wants to score and engrave. And you browse all materials. And what I chose was the metal 40 gauge thin copper. And it worked perfect on these particular metal credit cards. But then what you're going to want to do is you want to hit Edit Tools and change this to scoring stylus. We're not actually going to use the scoring stylus. You just don't put it in the machine and it's going to go through the motions of trying to quickly score a box around it, but it won't do that. And I tried doing draw at first and I couldn't use any kind of metal that would work because you can't draw on metal. So the software knew that. So this was my option, was the 40 gauge thin copper. And I was very pleased with the way it turned out. So it must be very similar to the thin aluminum. And then you send it to the mat. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention was I cut 8 of these at once. So I did that by just changing my number here to 8 and hitting apply. And then I moved them around on the mat just by clicking and dragging. And I put it at 1 inch and 1 inch, 1 inch and 4 inch, 1 inch and 7, then 5 and 1, 5 and 4, 5 and 7. And these two I flipped by using the little tool in the corner, and I put them sideways, and then I put one at 9 and 1, and then one at 5
in one. That way I can cut 8 of them at the same time. And I just made sure that I carefully laid out the cards on the mat exactly as I have them placed here.
All right, here they are all engraved. So here's all 8 of them. So one important thing to remember when you're taking them off your mat, you don't want to peel them up because you will bend the card. So you want to flip the mat over and just pop them off from the back, keeping them as flat as possible. And pop right off. You do get a little bit of dust from the engraving, but nothing major. It's fine. You can probably clean that off your mat at another time. So those strong grip mats are perfect for this. And you can see they're all done. So that's 8. It took exactly an hour and like 2 minutes to be exact, to cut all 8 of them. So it does take some time, and you can brush off any kind of residual dust, engraving dust on them. And then I thought I would also mention that I'm going to use these as a gift tag on something too. So I wondered if you could, these were ones that I messed up, the first 2 that I did. You can see that this one is off center, actually a little bit. And then one of my social media things was hidden, so I've marked it to make sure that I knew that this one wasn't any good. But so I thought I would test to see if you can use a hole punch on these, and it actually works pretty good. You just have to be careful popping it off that it doesn't bend the metal too much. This one you can see it wasn't centered up, and this was the very first one I did, and it ran off the edge, and that's when I figured I had to come up with a way to make sure that I got them centered, because you don't want to waste them if you can avoid it through trial and error. So hopefully my trial and error will help you guys from wasting them. But anyway, if you want to just punch a hole on it, it works pretty good. It just sticks. This is a 1/4 hole punch, and I just pop it off, and I would be able to, run a ribbon through that to tie it onto something. So I'm actually going to maybe engrave something on the other side, somebody's name, and that way my business card is on the other side and I can hang it off of a gift. So that's just one idea. But anyway, that's it. So they're pretty easy to do. They just take a little bit of time to cut on your machine. I was able to walk away and just let it run, and I had no issues at all. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my page and this is the first time you're here, please do so and click on the little bell so you get notifications anytime I post new content. I appreciate you watching. See you next time.